Ranging from science experiments that involve making human and animal hybrids to experiments where mad scientists brought animals back from the dead. Welcome to the list of the top 5 strangest science experiments ever. Jose Delgado, a Spanish professor of psychology, developed a stimoceiver in 1963. A stimoceiver is basically a method of mind control. He used a computer chip operated by a remote control unit to electrically stimulate the different regions of a subject's brain. He mostly tested on animals, but he even dabbled with human mind control, and he had very successful results. The chip, which was embedded into the animal's skull, could produce a variety of results that range from involuntary movement of the limbs to forcing particular emotions and appetite. He tested on monkeys who lived well for several years after surgery with no behavioural deficits. Delgado's stimulation research on the monkeys eventually allowed him to perform very complex and chained limb movements. Delgado was so confident in his mind control techniques, he stepped inside the ring with an angry bull armed with just his mind control unit. The bull charged him and he brought it under control and stopped the bull dead in its tracks just a few feet away from him. Centuries ago, popes and monarchs always wondered if drinking the blood of young people would increase their strength and make them live longer. As it turns out, it seems they weren't too far from the mark. Scientists who were curious about aging decided to join 2 mice together, one young and one old, and then study the effects. They discovered that injecting old mice with the blood of the young mice actually gave them more energy, strength and brain power. They even went as far as connecting the circulation system of the younger mouse to the older mouse. That mouse actually experienced reversed aging in muscle and in the brain. This experiment has not been trialled on humans, so it's not quite time to start running around sucking the blood of the young like a crazed vampire, although researchers are keen to start clinical trials in humans. It's a huge step in a quest that's as old as humanity itself, the quest for immortality. In the 1950s, the CIA launched a top-secret program called MKUltra. MKUltra was set up to research drugs and other techniques for mass mind control. Over the next 2 decades, the agency used hallucinogens, sleep deprivations and electric shock techniques in order to try and master mind control. The CIA scientists conducted more than 149 research projects as part of MKUltra. In one particular test, they went to bars in New York and actually spiked people's drinks without their consent. They did this to test the effects of LSD in social situations. In another test, they tried hypnosis, and in one case they persuaded heroin addicts to try mind control drugs in return for a bunch of free heroin. People actually died from the MKUltra project, most notably the case of Frank Olson, who was given LSD without his consent. In 1973, CIA Director Richard Helms got a bit worried about the unethical mind control experiments and ordered all documents related to the project destroyed. However, not all the documents were destroyed, and in 1977 a Freedom of Act information request released more than 20,000 pages on the program. This release caused a large investigation and led to people suing the CIA. In 1940, a bunch of mad Russian scientists released a video of severed dogs' heads that were kept alive for several hours, wiggling their ears, licking their mouths and even responding to sound. How did they do this? Well, the scientists claimed they could keep the animals alive by artificial blood circulation systems, so basically zombie dogs. American scientists also recreated the same experiment in 2005. The Russian scientists rapidly killed the dogs by flushing all the blood from their bodies and replacing it with oxygen. 3 hours after the poor dogs died, the scientists gave the dogs a blood transfusion and an electric shock. As if by miracle, the dogs were resurrected. Most of the dogs were absolutely fine, but some of them suffered permanent damage. These tests are pretty shocking and horrific, but the scientists claimed these resurrection experiments were for a purpose. All the research and experiments suggest that one day humans could be revived after losing blood too quickly for doctors to repair their injuries. In places such as Britain, the law forbids any experiments that involve inserting human cells into the ape family. But in other places, for instance China, there have been cases of combining human stem cells with animals such as goats. American scientists are actually considering transplanting human brain cells into mice. Whilst human stem cell research is already a very controversial subject, the thought of human-animal hybrids is causing a huge uproar, and rightly so. Campaigners and the general public are calling for regulations on things like human brain transplants to animals and just animal research in general, because, well, it's pretty horrific. You may ask yourself, why are these scientists even considering creating these unethical human-animal hybrids? Well, they hope it will provide a better understanding of nature and our very own bodies, and to learn more about diseases and how to prevent them. This crossbreed image of a pig baby hybrid is actually just a model at the moment, and was built so the scientists can study the potential limitations they may come across. And that brings my list of the top 5 strangest science experiments to an end. I jolly well hoped you liked it, and as always, thank you for watching.